Okay, normally I talk about football, I talk about MMA, and I talk about other things that are sports related, right? Well, today it's not about that. Tonight is not about that. I've actually told this story before on my channel, but I don't think I told it good enough. Um, Perhaps now is the best time to tell it, you know. In 2015, like my title says, and this video is not about likes, it's not about comments, it's just me explaining myself and talking about something that I really went through about 8 years ago. 2015, I really do believe I met the devil. Um, and this stuff had been happening for a long time in the middle of the night. I know there's something called sleep paralysis or whatever it's called, but it can't be that, and I'll tell you why. Uh, you know, um, I'd be trying to sleep around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes around 5ish, and it really felt like at some point there was something else in that room with me when I'm trying to sleep. And at some point, and I knew I was awake, but my eyes were open, but I couldn't move. Let me tell you about how this when this first happened. I think I had to be 7 or 8 years old, and me and my family we used to sleep in the same bed when I was a kid, not the same bed, but the same room. And I remember waking up and I was frozen. I couldn't move, and everything was just red. I don't know what that meant, but I knew it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. Like something was off. Like it just wasn't a good vibe, and that's how it kind of all started. Now the red thing never happened again, but I was scared, but I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, and I didn't know anything about God or Jesus back then when I was 7 or 8 years old. Like I didn't care about that back then, like no one else, unless you were already going to church and all that. Uh, but the being frozen in the middle of the night, being scared, that didn't stop for a while. Around 2015 is when it got real bad. Um, uh, One time I remember hearing voices in my head. I know it wasn't crazy. It sounded like real people, kind of like muffling. Like you know how in movies when you're the hero or somebody's in one room and you can hear other voices going on in another room, but you can't quite make out what they're saying unless you listen real closely. That's what it sounded like. It scared me because there was nobody in the room with me but me, and I couldn't never make out what it was saying. But then I ran into a friend on Facebook who was real religious, and she said that uh, you sounds like you're encountering evil spirits, maybe the devil. Now I'm not sure it was the devil. Well, hopefully it wasn't. But if it wasn't, that just proves my story to be true when it says I met the devil. Um, One night it got real bad. I started thinking about Jesus and God's name when that stuff would happen, and it would work for a while. It would go away, and at one point it wouldn't go away. It just got worse. And at one point I cussed myself like "f you" or something that I said. I'm not gonna say what I said, because I know kids watch my channel. But at one point I felt like I was being choked. No lie, like I was being choked. And it was a summer night, and I was scared. I didn't know. At one point, I didn't want to go back to sleep anymore for the rest of the night. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I just sat on my phone for like 2, 3 hours until it was time to wake up and go to work or whatever it was I was doing. At one point, it came back, and I kid you not, I left my phone on the mattress, and I swear, it flew across the room. Not across the room, but like maybe a few feet from my mattress and the wall, and it was on the ground when everything was over. And I felt some kind of, I never felt, I'll tell you, I never felt so much hate. I never felt so much fear. I was scared in one room before, ever. But I was scared, but right away I kept thinking to myself, God, not just God and Jesus, but I said, in the name of Jesus, you need to leave. You're not welcome here. In the name of God, leave now. I kept saying that in my head. Eventually, I felt such peace. I was so happy. I slept peacefully that night. A few nights later, um, I felt that urge coming back, but it wasn't quite as powerful. And that's the point where I kept saying the same thing. And at some point, I started hearing a muffling voice saying blah 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 blah, like it didn't want to hear me. But all this did happen. Now granted, it's been a long time since this has happened, about 6 or 7 years. About a year after this happened, it kept happening, but it wasn't quite as strong. I'm not saying I don't go to church or anything, but I do believe in God. Every now and then I pray. God is my best friend, Jesus Christ, all that good stuff. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus, but I do believe in the devil. He is real. I work, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much my story. Since then, I've thought more positively. I talk differently. I don't treat people any differently. I'm about the same as I was, but I'm a lot different than what I was years ago, to say the least. So again, this has nothing to do with sports. This is my own personal story. But I finally feel comfortable telling the whole thing, and I guess talking. Technically, I've told the story on my channel already. I might have deleted the video. I don't know, But this was a longer story, more in depth of what happened and why it happened and why I feel like it happened and why I truly feel like it was the devil. Because the thing is, I never felt that much anger, that much dread, fear in one setting ever. You know what I mean? So it was scary. And to this day, I haven't forgotten how it felt like that night when I was scared when my phone flung across and hit the wall like it did. I was scared. I didn't see neither the lights were out. But I know where I left my phone at the edge of the mattress, and I had to go down up underneath near the wall, near the floor, about a foot away, two away from my mattress, right? And it was down there, and it hit a thump like something pushed it. So again, I never saw anything but that red when I was a kid, but it was still scary.